morning, everyone. We will start the first International Safety Tourism Conference from now on. Nice to see you all. First of all, thank you for participating in the first International Safety Tourism Conference despite your busy schedule. We will thoroughly observe the rules of wearing masks and safety distancing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends, especially overseas. It's very nice to have you here. My name is Sanjay Park. I'm the Secretary General of World Culture and Tourism Institute. As you know, we are in the age of COVID-19. We all having a difficulty, so we want to overcome together. That's why we have this conference. Based on our conveniency and the Korean audience, we're going to have this conference in Korean, but we have Ms. Ha and Ho, simultaneous interpreter. She will help you. Thank you. First of all, before I go through, I would like to introduce some of the important guests here.
Before the start of the event, I will introduce VIPs from Korea and overseas who participate in this event and move on to the forum in the order of the ceremony. First, we have Professor Oh Ik-keun, the director of the World Tourism Research Institute, with us today. Please welcome him with a big applause. Next, we have Professor Peter Tower, who are with us from the US through Zoom. He's not online yet? Yes. Then we have Ms. Nazalina Lim, the former Secretary of Tourism of the Philippines. She is with us through online connection. Please welcome her with an applause. And you can see her on the screen. And we have the president of Tafisa Federation, Mr. Chang Joo-ho. Please welcome him with a big applause. Tafisa is currently the second largest organization after the Olympic Organizing Committee, headquartered in Germany, and the president, Mr. Chang Joo-ho, is in Korea. Next, we have president of the World Federation of Martial Arts, Mr. Jin Jong-ho. And the first president of Yongin University, President Sang Chang Lee, is here with us. Next, I will introduce those participating from overseas connected by Zoom. We have Mr. Nizal Wang, the Honorary Secretary of Malaysia Tourism Association.
Raise your hands, please. Okay. 저분 있습니다. 통화를 하는데 아주 영어도 잘하시고 또
Honorary Secretary General Nizal Wang is good at English and knowledgeable in the field. And in the US, we have Laura Sophia, CEO of Sophia House in the US. Are you online? Oh, you haven't come yet. And finally, we have The CEO of Global Tour Japan, Mr. Nam Ki-young, who is currently in Japan's travel industry, he is linked through Zoom.
한국, 일본 여행객 옛날 송출을 제1위를 하셨답니다.
This gentleman ranked first in sending out Korean and Japanese travelers overseas. He is one of the presenters today. Next, there will be welcome remarks from Mr. Oh Ik-eun, Director of the World Tourism and Cultural Research Institute. Please welcome him with a big applause. Nice to meet you all. Today is the first day of the International Safety Tourism Forum. The purpose of this conference is to overcome the difficulties of the tourism industry under COVID-19. We tried to gather many experts and practitioners to find and come up with solutions. In fact, we tried to host this forum in August, but we had to postpone the meeting due to the government's response to the pandemic. But despite pandemic, we thought that it should be held within this year, despite the adverse conditions. And the forum today is very meaningful in this regard. Today, an award is presented to Talit Rifai, former Secretary General of the UNWTO, who has visited Korea many times before. Also, former Secretary of Tourism of the Philippines, Ms. Nazalina Lim, was introduced earlier. And we have Peter Tallow of Tourism and More. I'm doing moderation for the overseas session, and he is one of the presenters today. And thank you for coming, President Chang Joo-ho, the World Sports Federation. Thank you for your participation as presenters and panels, including the former Secretary General of the Malaysian Association Travel Agency, MATA. My thanks go to all of you. Hopefully, at this conference, good alternatives to overcome COVID-19 and prepare for post-COVID will be addressed so that not only international travel but also domestic tourism will make a huge progress. As I told you before, I'd like to express my gratitude to people involved under adverse conditions. Most of all, Mr. Park Sun-jae, Secretary General of the Sangwon Cultural Center, and the staff of the SP International Education Center for allowing the conference to be held. In the future, we are going to go on a path that we have never stepped on. Untrodden path, and I hope that we can gather your wisdom and move on the path with wisdom. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Oh Ik-eun, for your welcoming remarks. Next, we will have Chairman of APPI Asia Pacific Projects Inc. and former Secretary of Tourism of the President of the Philippines. The video of Ms. Nazalina Lim. Please enjoy the video clip and welcome her with a big applause.
I am deeply honored to have been invited to deliver the welcome address at this global conference on safety tourism. reactivating the tourism industry in the age of COVID-19. As we all know, the pandemic has caused the collapse of tourism's global supply chains, forcing many small, micro, and medium enterprises in the tourism industry to close, leading to the loss of millions of jobs worldwide. Even the large segments of the supply chain, such as airlines and branded iconic hotels and restaurants, have closed. While we are optimistic that this problem may be addressed soon because of the imminent rollout of a vaccine against COVID-19, the administration of the vaccine will take considerable time until everyone in every corner of the earth is reached. And even then, we cannot rule out another outbreak of a deadly virus given deforestation, climate change, and the interconnectivity of countries. This conference is therefore very timely because it aims to craft a global recovery strategy that seeks to revive the tourism industry while ensuring the safety and well-being of travelers. This strategy should seek to rebuild tourism's broken supply chain and make it more environmentally sustainable. It should be able to address the challenge of how to build the resilience of the global, regional, and local tourism sectors to weather future pandemics. Congratulations to the Songwon Cultural Center Institute, specifically its World Culture and Tourism Institute, for bringing together experts in one room to discuss how tourism industry can get back on its feet. Congratulations too to the SP Global Education and to the sponsors for embarking on this project in spite of the constraints posed by the pandemic. Beginning with an overview of where tourism is at today by the former Secretary General of the UN World Tourism Organization, Dr. Taleb Rifai, followed by discussions on how to activate international and domestic tourism. This conference creates an enabling environment for the distinguished speakers and panelists to share their knowledge, expertise, and wisdom with the conference participants. It is my fervent hope that after the conference, tourist destinations and tourist-generating countries can build trust and confidence in one another so people can start traveling again. I would like to end this message by citing the Songwon Cultural Center International for its forward thinking and spirit of innovation, not just in organizing the conference, but in promoting cultural tourism. In a world that has become isolated since the outbreak of COVID-19, when countries started to close their borders and continue to do so, the tourism industry can lead the way by encouraging visits that strengthen our cultural ties as a global community. The best place to start the discussion is here in this dynamic city of Busan today, December 13, 2020, during this historic conference. Thank you and good day.
Thank you for the speech, Madam Lim. 우리 전 필리핀 관광부 장관이신 마담 나사렐라 림을 동상 축사했습니다. 다음은
Next, I thank Ms. Lina Lim, former Secretary of Tourism of the Philippines, for her video congratulatory remarks. The following will be a congratulatory remark from President Jang Joo-ho of TAFISA, World Sports Association. Please welcome him with a big applause. Good morning. Since it is an international conference, I will give a brief congratulatory remark in English.
Dear Professor Oikun, organizer of this Congress, and Madam Azalena Lim, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the 180 national and 370 organization members of TAPISA, it is my privilege to be invited and welcome all those who are physically and virtually participating in the global conference on safety tourism. The pandemic crisis has created a truly unprecedented situation which affects us all in every sector, including politics, society, in economy and culture and art. And of course, the tourism and sports industries have been threatened in particular. As the leading international sports sport organization, where I myself is sitting as the president, the TAPISA endeavors to support the global sports sport movement and aim to promote physical, mental, and social health of global citizens through sports sport. We have a close partnership with various international organizations, including International Olympic Committee, Sport Festival, and World Walking Day combines the impact of sports sport and physical activity with the involvement of local communities, which can also be linked to an area that we commonly call as sports tourism. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt wish for the success of the global conference on safety tourism. I hope that this conference will seek ways to revitalize the stagnant local economy and tourism industry, and furthermore, promote cooperation with the sports to create and promote safe tourism industrialization. I thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks. President Zhang has been in many conferences and he has a lot of insightful messages and ideas. Next, we have the progress report. Let me show you the background and the progress of this conference. The World Culture and Tourism Research Institute, which hosted this event, is an affiliated organization of the Sung-un Cultural Center, a non-profit voluntary organization in Busan established in 2017. It is a research institute created for the development of the local tourism and international tourism exchanges led by domestic and foreign tourism experts. In particular, in a situation where all tourism projects are stagnant due to COVID-19 this year, the idea that it should help the development of the local community and tourism industry at least a little has developed as this event today with the director and other researchers working together from March this year. In the future, we will continue to strive to meet the purpose of this event, the establishment of this institute. Next, we will have the winners of the World Tourism Awards. They will be announced. Mr. Oh Ik-gun, director of the institute, will present the awards and announce the awards. In the previous greeting, I forgot to convey my thanks to all of you who participated early in the morning. Sorry. Once again, thank you for your participation. This award is given to people who have made great contributions to world tourism at this first International Safety Community Tourism Conference. We selected tourism experts from all over the world to select the candidate to give this award who can be a good role model for the development of our community and global tourism. And then we got the short list of the candidates who can be a good role model in this industry. And we had the award committee participated by Dr. Peter Tallow from the US and Mustafa present, Mr. Dazalina Lim of the Philippines, and then many other people, and Dr. Rifai, who have been here in Korea many times before, and then he is very well known in the world tourism industry. And then he was selected as the first winner of this award today. And then this is the background of selecting him as the winner of the award today. So he's not here today with us. So I am sending this award to him by post because he's not here with us today.
오늘 또 소장님 수고하셨습니다.
Thank you for your award.
다음은
Next,
우리 행사
we will move on to
키넛 스피치를 해주실
the.
우리
We will present
넷바이
Mr. Talat Lafai, who will deliver the keynote
키넛
speech.
스피치가 있겠습니다.
So we will have the keynote speech from
여러분 저기
him. So he's going to deliver his speech in English. So for Korean speakers, please tune into channel number 1.
맞추면 되겠죠. 그래서 지금 이어폰
Or for English speakers, please tune to English channel number 2.
그러니까 제가 설명 못 드렸네요. 그러면 준비되셨어요? 네. 자 그러면 경학 행사를 돕도록 하겠습니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
My dear friends, it's my pleasure to have been invited to deliver this opening address at the Global Conference of Safety, Tourism, on reactivating the tourism industry in the age of COVID-19. I want to particularly thank Mr. Park, who I never met, has become a friend, a digital friend, the organizers, the World Culture and Tourism Institute, Sangwon Cultural Center, and our hosts, SP Global Education, the World Federation of United Martial Arts, Tourism and more, as well as our sponsor, Association of International Sport, for all, TAFISA, and Busan Tourism Organization, Busan Women's College. The city of Busan is a very special city for me. I visited it 4 times in the last 10 years. Every time I love it more. It represents to me the essence of Korea, which I love. The main purpose of this timely important meeting is to graft a global recovery strategy that seeks to revive the total economy to reviving travel and tourism while ensuring that people stay safe and alive. It is my belief that there are opportunities to come out of every crisis and that challenges bring in the best out of us. We must therefore turn this terrible episode into an opportunity for us to rebuild this vital industry and its resilience for the future, a better, stronger and more sustainable future. To do so, we need to redesign a general framework for an economic growth and prosperity plan, to draft frameworks for national plans to assist the whole world to come out stronger, economically, socially and politically, in a post-corona era. It's important to try to position the travel and tourism industry, the most affected and damaged sector by COVID-19 crisis, as a leading economic force and a force for good in today's world. Why travel and tourism? Travel and tourism is today and will continue to be, for the short and medium term, one of the most damaged sectors of the economy as a result of the corona crisis, the results of which has been the loss of hundreds of millions of jobs worldwide and the loss of tens of billions of dollars. There is no tourism without travel. Travel and movement has stopped completely. Now, as a result of Corona, the fact is that travel and tourism will always bounce back even stronger, because travel today is no more luxury for the wealth and the elites. It's people's activity. It has actually moved to the realm of rights. My right to experience the world, my right to see it, my right to travel, for business, for education, my right to relax, to take a break. It has become today a human right, just as my right to a job, to education, to healthcare. Travel and tourism has been elevated in the last decades to no less than an essential human need. It therefore, no doubt, will bounce back. My dear friends, we must first start by acknowledging that after the world after Corona will never be the same. It will be very different from before Corona. The challenge therefore today is to travel, for the travel and tourism sector, is how to contribute and play a leading role in transforming the entire economy into a new era, the post-Corona era. Challenge that should not only carry us to a healthy recovery, but rather move us into a more advanced and prosperous, sustainable world, a better world. I personally have spent more than 2 decades working in tourism. I care more about what tourism does to the world, to the people, than I care about tourism per se. My dear friends, this crisis has at least 2 distinct phases. One, the containment phase, which deals with immediate health challenges of keeping people alive and healthy by applying all health measures. 2, the recovery phase, the preparation of which should guarantee not only dealing with the serious economic effects and the job losses, but rather take us through economic recovery to a more advanced and sustainable form of prosperity and development. While the 2 phases are crucial and are to be addressed simultaneously, the world has so far put all its energy and resources into phase 1, containment only. Maybe because, understandably, life and health are human priorities. But here we must note, as many countries are beginning to discover, that life after phase 1 containment is equally important. It's life with dignity and prosperity. We should therefore start preparing and planning for the day after containment, preparing for recovery phase today, immediately, and without any delay. Maybe because the multilateral international system has failed us as well, and is going to be reshaped with the new world. Every government today is on its own. Look at the EU or even the UN. No one is doing or saying anything. No leadership. Every government seems to be acting on its own today. There's a cost for everything, my dear friends, for every phase, and we should be all prepared to do so. The cost of containment was covered by every country. Every government has taken their measures to address it, each according to its capabilities. While some governments, particularly in developing countries, have done a good job, the fact remains that most governments have not even started to address phase 2, the recovery phase, which is sad. In view of the big damage that phase 1, containment, particularly lockdowns, have inflicted on phase 2, recovery, we must start right now planning and preparing for phase 2 and its cost, for what is life or health, if it is without dignity or prosperity. My friends, we need to recognize that there are 3 stages for tourism recovery. 1, keep businesses alive. 2, embark on domestic and regional tourism. 3, then go into international tourism. It's very timely. This is a very timely meeting, and things are not going to be resolved soon. The vaccine alone is not an answer. As important as it is, we will not go back to the old norms. A good Korean woman once said, there are 3 T's in this crisis: testing, tracing, and treatment. My dear friends, the United States of American Congress initially approved an allocation of $2.2 trillion US, which represent roughly 10% of its GDP, to address the consequences of the crisis. Other countries such as Singapore, Korea, Canada, Australia, China, and many other countries did the same. They all plan to use such funds for the following purposes. 1, direct payment for the workers losing their jobs through loans and grants. 2. Creating a fund for rescue and bailout for businesses, especially SMEs, other companies in travel and tourism, airlines, cruises, hotels, travel agencies, etc. 3. Support the national budget to enable further reduction in taxes and fees across the board, particularly in services, construction, and digital technology sectors. 4. Support the national budget to complete all measures related to medical containment and help in gradual opening up of their economy. All in all, most countries allocate between 7 to 11 of their GDP for similar plans. It is therefore suggested that roughly 10% of every country's GDP be allocated to their recovery plan. This should include 1/3 of the funds for direct support to annual budgets of 2020, 2021, and maybe part of 2022, to make up for the losses incurred during the containment phase. This money should ideally cover the following: A. Direct cost of measures for medical containment. B. Subsidizing the workers that lost their jobs, particularly the tourism workers. C. Creating a fund to support SMEs and provide low-interest loans. D. And the cost of reducing taxes and fees in the national economy. My dear friends, the remaining 2/3 of the allocated funds should be assigned for the initiation of number of infrastructure and vital construction projects, all sectors, such as schools, clinics, roads, highways, and airports, among other infrastructures needed for tourism development particularly. This would help stimulate the national economy by pumping fresh money, putting more people back to work, and creating new jobs. The funds should ideally be allocated from reserves or savings, and if this option is not available, then borrowing at a low interest rate is the other option. Borrowing is legitimate here, even if the national debt is high. We borrow to pump money into the economy, stimulate and strengthen the economy, and in turn boost the revenues of the national budget, thereby increasing the country's ability to pay back its debt. We do not borrow to pay back our previous debts. That's important. The USA did something similar in late 20s of last century, during the Great Depression, where it borrowed money to construct most of the highways being used today. The idea was that in difficult times, we should spend more money to stimulate the economy, not the other way around. We should also prepare a list of relevant projects that should be prepared for construction. Such projects are critical, not only to stimulate the national economy, but they are essential to provide the infrastructure that was needed anyway before the crisis and independent. We should also prepare a study on the proposed tax and fees reduction immediately as a reform that would continue long after recovery, assuming that the cost will have to be accounted for in 2021 and 2022, after which a freshly recovered economy should be able to take care of its own budget needs, as more revenues will be collected, resulting from the recovered economy. It's natural. My friends, the new post-corona era has indeed produced a new reality. The new era, its economic consequences will have new shape that will change it forever. Some of the features of the new travel and tourism industry could be summed up in 5 points. I'll try to sum them up very quickly. 1. Domestic and regional tourism. The most important impact on travel and tourism would be the rise of the import of domestic and regional tourism. As a result of understandable halt of international arrivals, people will continue to be worried for far and long haul travel, particularly by air, with multiple stopovers. Traveling in one's country then is more likely to start recovery process before we start seeing the revival of international tourism sector. This is indeed a healthy development that should have been developing before and independent of the current crisis. People should go around, visit, and enjoy their own country. Get to know it first, as no country can or should be enjoyed by a foreigner if it's not enjoyed by its own people first. This is not therefore just a consequence of the current crisis. It's a matter of principle and opportunity for us. Domestic tourism may not have the same economic benefits of international tourism, particularly in its contribution to the balance of trade and foreign currency. But it is very helpful in keeping tourism facilities open and working as well, keeping the very valuable jobs alive. This shift in emphasis on domestic tourism would require a major change in mindset, in destination, management, manpower, and promotion, as well as restructuring the public and private institutions. 2. International tourism. International tourism will not start soon, even if we open borders tomorrow. People are simply worried about leaving home and getting stuck somewhere far. 2 ideas I'd like to present here. 1. Draft a special insurance policy to be purchased before entering the country that would specifically cater for COVID, guarantee of treatment, or repatriation if needed. Jamaica calls it Jamaica Cares. It costs around $36 per policy. This can be internationally called Global Travel Cares, GTC. It is a way to keep minds at ease and keep people not worried about traveling. 2. The concept of digital nomads may be the best way of starting international tourism. The concept is based on work from home. Your destination can become your new home, the new home for a new young worker. The idea depends on long-term stay. Instead of having 10 people stay for 1 day, of one person staying for 30 days, it would require a new mindset in hotel offers, tour operators approach, and a new visa and taxes. But it works good in reducing crowds with less people and longer stay, but same revenues, if not more. 3. Digital technology. Increased confidence in and dependency on digital technology is becoming a way of life and will continue to be with us for a long time. Everything is becoming online, virtual, from home. This will change so much of our human behavior. Travel and tourism is going to be one of the most affected sectors by digital technology. But how is this going to affect our experience in traveling? One thing for sure is business from home will not only be for meetings from home. We are doing this right now as we meet today. Many of our other human activities such as concerts, festivals, and maybe other special personal occasions can and will become virtual. People are going to compete on thinking imaginatively out of the box. There is no limit to that. 4. Safety and security. There is no doubt a major challenge is in perception factor of safety. People are understandably worried and therefore hesitant to travel or even leave their home. We must therefore embark immediately on conveying the feeling and belief it is truly fine to come to visit. And it is safe. Without such a feeling, there would be no travel and thus no tourism. One important idea is the GTC, just talked about, GTC insurance, we mentioned earlier. Another idea is to designate Corona safer zones, CSZ. Certain complexes, beaches, districts, and even entire destinations could be declared, promoted as Corona safe. While we know it is very difficult to guarantee a total assurance of Corona 100% safe zone, we can provide the maximum care to ensure the visitors that they feel are safe. They are safer and more secure here. This is a must if we want to resume travel, especially international travel. 5. Last but not least, training of human resources. All the new directions mentioned above will require a major shift in human resource skills. This would necessitate a large program of online and on-site training. The changes in the post-corona era require a major change in restructuring businesses, adjusting their business model and the staff skills to suit the new realities. All of the above require a massive retraining program for travel and tourism to be able to manage and survive the post-corona. Not to mention the training in advanced technologies and language skills, all of which require investment in a large national program for training and retraining. My friends, these are but general thoughts, framework proposals. They are not meant to be strictly followed. The important thing is to design, develop, and implement a plan in direct consultations with all stakeholders, and do it now, today, not tomorrow. The crisis will pass and we will witness many more positive social, economic, and technological developments all over the world. As for today, we now realize that our health comes first. May God bless you all and all mankind. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, President of the UNWTO, Mr. Taleb Rifai. During his tenure, he has contributed to the sustainable development of the tourism. And then he worked for the International Staff Foundation for the elimination of the poverty of the world. And then he also worked to develop the Silk Road for tourism across the globe. And he also has great interest and attention to the development of the South and North Korean industries. And this wraps up the opening ceremony as we prepared. And we will have a break before 11 o'clock at local time, and we will start our session at 11 o'clock. So those connected through Zoom, you have a break before you reconnect to Zoom one more time at 11 o'clock Korean local time. Please be prepared well ahead before the conference. This wraps up the ceremony for the opening of the conference. Thank you very much.